Joining us this morning, very honored and proud to say, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your schedule. We know you're very busy, and we appreciate you visiting us once again.
Great to be here. Great to be back home in BC, but great to be checking in with Breakfast Television.
Let's talk about the reason you're in BC, of course, the wildfires in the BC interior. A lot of people are asking why it's taken you so long to come to the West Coast, considering the state of emergency was declared about 3 weeks ago.
I think the first thing, and everyone understands this, the last thing I want to do is take away from the amazing work that's being done by the first responders, by the fire crews. Whenever a Prime Minister shows up, there's a whole hoopla that goes around it, and we were looking for a little bit of a lull, which we've had this past week in terms of the intensity of the fires, where we could come in and thank people and bring attention to it without disrupting any of the important operations going on. What the BC firefighters are doing is absolutely amazing. The scale and the scope of these fires is unbelievable to see. We were up in a helicopter, and from one end of the horizon to the other, you could see smoke right across the landscape and fires, and the way that the professionals have been able to keep communities safe, keep buildings safe, keep people safe has been just amazing to see, but a lot of hard work.
Let's talk about the fundraising efforts that you launched over the weekend with the Red Cross. There's some confusion about how this money is being, I guess, generated and contributed to the Red Cross. So what is going on that you launched over the weekend?
The first thing, what we've been talking a lot is how easy it is to make a donation to the Red Cross. You just text BC Fires to 20222 and you make a $10 donation to the Red Cross that shows up on your phone bill, and it's going to make a really big impact directly, because the Red Cross is always there to help people out. Now, how we actually support the Red Cross, we defer to the BC Red Cross and the provincial government to say, well, what is the best way for the federal government to help? And they said to do it this way, and we're happy to do it. It's different in each situation, but we're focused on giving people the help they need when they need them, and that's what came up.
So at this exact moment, the federal government is not matching those donations dollar for dollar?
No, we're matching the provincial contributions. We're giving about $27 million to the Red Cross right now, which will rise if there are more evacuations to up to about $50 million. We're making sure that the support is there for people to return home. We're also investing, obviously, with the Canadian Armed Forces being there on the ground to help with evacuations. We're working with the province, and we'll be there for the disaster assistance response program. I mean, the message coming through is that we're there to support, and we will be there not just for the emergency time, but for the rebuild as it needs to support businesses as well. And it's important to say, even though there's been sort of a transition in government, we've been working so well with Premier Horgan since before he was Premier to make sure that everything is coordinated between the different orders of government. That's what people expect. People expect their governments to be working well together, and I have to say we really are.
So you're on the cover of the Rolling Stone, which would be a big deal for a rock and roll artist. For a politician, does it perhaps distract from more important matters? I know that we've heard from a lot of BT viewers over the last 24 hours who think that Trudeau mania is a distraction from more important matters like the BC wildfires.
Well, it depends who's getting distracted. I'm focused on the fires. I'm focused on the renegotiation of NAFTA. I think putting the message out there that Canada is doing great things, and that Canadians are a country that is worth looking at and worth noticing what we're doing as we get into the renegotiation of NAFTA. It's not a terrible thing, but it's certainly not the central focus of our government. This past month we were celebrating the first-year anniversary of delivering the child benefit checks to Canadians, which have made a huge impact on so many families and giving them more money for summer camps and back-to-school supplies and those kinds of things by not sending child benefit checks to the wealthiest. I mean, we're focused on the things that are making a difference in people, and if people want to elevate that or give coverage to that around the world, well, I'm happy to highlight what Canada's doing.
Do you think you spend a lot of time taking selfies with people? Do you think that is that just someone on your team that's handling all that, or is that something that takes up a large portion of your day?
I get out and try and meet with as many Canadians as I can. I think it's really important to stay connected with folks. folks to listen to what people's concerns are and understand how best to serve them as a government. So I never apologize for the amount of time I spend chatting with Canadians, and if they ask me for a selfie, I will give them a selfie. It's not something that I think twice about, because selfies are the way of shaking hands almost in some circles now. I shake a lot of hands too, but if people want to take a selfie, I'm happy to do it.
Let's shift gears and talk about one of the other issues you're dealing with today. You'll be talking to Vancouver Mayor Gregor Robertson and addressing the opioid crisis. More than 900 people in BC died last year in this situation. That number expected to go even higher this year. What is your government doing to fix this problem?
This is a real crisis, and we need to be working at it from all levels of government. Our Health Minister, Jane Philpott, has been super engaged on it. We're doing a number of different things. Directly supporting the provincial governments with extra funding for this is a big piece of it. But more than that, there's levers that the federal government has, whether it's on faster approval of safe consumption sites here in BC, but also right across the country where they're coming in, whether it's making it tougher at the border to bring through small packages that could contain fentanyl, whether it's working with the prescription drug regime to allow for either easy access to naloxone or access to substitutes that can be prescribed to help people from having to go towards fentanyl or carfentanil. We're continuing to engage at a multi-level way.
But is it working, though, considering that so many people are dying every day on the downtown east side? What are we doing right now to try and fix these numbers?
The frontline workers are getting naloxone right across the country. I did a couple of ride-alongs and meetings down on the downtown east side with those folks who are dealing with this crisis right in front of them, and we're giving them the support we can. We're working to open new centers, to extend the hours of the safe consumption sites, to create a better response in terms of prescribing opioids as well, so that we're more thoughtful about cutting this off. Because yes, it's a challenge in the downtown east side, but we're also seeing it spread to small communities, to suburban areas. It's something that is affecting so many Canadians that we're working very, very hard on getting ahead of.
So as we talk about drugs, where are we at with the legalization of marijuana? I know the government missed a deadline recently.
No, not really. We're working forward on a legalization regime controlling and regulating marijuana for next summer. We've been consistent on pointing out that we're doing it because we need to make it tougher for young people to access it. Right now, kids have easy access to marijuana, and they shouldn't. There's no black market for beer out there. We need to make sure that it's at least as difficult for a young person to get their hands on marijuana as it is for alcohol. Right now, it's way easier to get a joint than a bottle of beer, so we're tightening up on that, and we're making sure that the criminal organizations, the street gangs, the gun runners, don't make the billions of dollars of profits that they're making off of the sale of marijuana now, and we're on track for doing that for next summer.
I want to switch gears here and talk about the pipeline. BC's new Premier, John Horgan, has said and vowed that he will do everything in his power to stop the expansion of this. You obviously have a very different point of view on this. How is Ottawa going to work with this new provincial government?
Actually, we have a great working relationship with John, with the new government, whether it's on transit funding for the Lower Mainland, whether it's on the opioid crisis.
But you're very far apart on pipelines, though.
Actually, we're not that far because, I mean, yes, there's a difference of opinion on the approach, but the values of saying we need to grow the economy and protect the environment at the same time, which is why, as a federal government, we brought in a pan-Canadian framework on climate change. We're moving forward, inspired strongly by the BC success with carbon pricing carbon pollution. We're moving forward on that across the country. We've put in place an oceans protection plan that is world-class in terms of how we're going to protect our coast, including the BC coast. These are the things that we're doing. We know that protecting the environment and growing the economy go together. The Premier certainly agrees with that.
But a lot of people in BC are not in favor of pipelines too, right?
We will work through these issues step by step. I think everyone everyone knows that, yes, we have to grow the economy and protect the environment. We need to make sure we're doing them both in responsible, sustainable ways. John and I certainly agree on that. There may be elements we disagree on, but we'll work through them in a positive, constructive way, because that's what British Columbians expect.
Prime Minister, there are so many people in our province, and this question comes from the heart for me as I have a young family. It is so hard to buy a home in our province, and I'm wondering, with housing costs at an all-time high here, what is your government doing to possibly stop this from getting worse or make it better?
Well, you can understand the federal government has tools that apply right across the country, and therefore we're limited in our ability to target one specific area, which is why it's so important that we work as well as we do with the province and the municipality. I'm going to be sitting down with Mayor Gregor Robertson in a few minutes, actually, to talk about his vision on housing and how we're going to help. The federal government has done a number of things around affecting the housing market, but what we really needed to do, and what we have done, is actually step up and get re-engaged on housing. The federal government, for a long time, stepped out of housing. We're stepping back in a big way for tens of billions of dollars in social housing, in affordable housing, where we're going to work with the mayor and with municipalities across the country to address that.
So that's what you're doing, but what would you say to a BT viewer watching right now who's sitting going, I don't have enough money, I can't afford the rent? What should they be doing right now?
We're working to make sure that, first of all, as you said, young families get more money in their pockets. We lowered taxes on the middle class, raising them on the wealthiest 1%. We're making sure that the child benefit flows with more money, tax-free, to families that need that support. We're also growing the economy. We're creating new jobs. We're pivoting there towards where the economy is going in terms of knowledge economy, in terms of creativity, in terms of innovation, in terms of being smarter about our natural resources. There's a lot of things we can do to grow the economy, and if people have better jobs and more income coming in, they'll be better able to afford their homes, while at the same time we're investing in significantly more rental housing spaces, creating new housing stock, both affordable and social housing, subsidized housing, in partnership with municipalities. There's a lot that can be done and that is being doing, but I recognize how difficult it is for families and the uncertainty they're facing.
It blows, Prime Minister. It's been awful here.
When I lived in Vancouver, it was just the beginning of the pressure around housing, but what my friends are going through now and they tell me about is just unimaginable. I know how difficult it is.
We got to leave it there. We appreciate you coming on and once again and chatting with us. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, always a pleasure to see you, and it's an honor. So thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
8:43. We're back with more BT right after this.